CTV News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. We got rain over the weekend, but not like anything they got in the Laurentians. Torrential rains there caused landslides and washed out roads. There are people trapped on their properties. In the community of Ascension, north of Mont-Tremblant, they've declared a state of emergency. Here's Geneviève Beauchemin.
And this is the main road in the town of Ascension, a town of 900 people. This is the fire station here, and right across is what's happened. The entire road has collapsed. People here are leaning on one another as they face widespread damage. Some have been left without electricity, without drinking water, and some are trapped in their homes by landslides and road collapses.
It was absolutely stunning to see the damage done in such a short period.
Penny Arn is hunkering down in her cottage. Roads leading up to her property have been washed away, sections of asphalt ripped up.
People who've been here 30, 40 years, they're like, we've seen storms and, you know, the lake come up and whatnot, but this has not been seen.
105 millimeters of rain poured down on the region from Sunday to Monday, triggering a cascade of destructive events. Jocelyn Larose says she has never seen anything like it. I've lived here for 20 years and my husband is now stuck in a cottage he can't get out, she says. Rivers filled up and breached their banks. Half the village is now completely inaccessible from the other half. Other towns in the region, too, took a massive hit. And this was just the latest in a series of destructive storms that have swept through Quebec over the past few weeks. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, L'Ascension, Quebec.
People in Pierrefonds are still dealing with the aftermath of the major flood in June. Many of them at last night's Borough Council meeting. They were looking for answers. Here's Denise Roberts.
On June 20th, Victor Knowlton's backyard oasis suddenly turned into a babbling brook as water came sprouting up from the ground.
They're not really geysers, but we have water coming out of the ground in 4 different places.
It was too much water for his 5 pumps to handle, and they called the fire department for help.
They came in our backyard, said they had never seen anything like that before, and condemned it. They thought there was going to be a sinkhole and a landslide.
Today, the ground has dried, but evidence of the ordeal remains. Knowlton says he's applied for help from the borough, and like many others on his street, he's still waiting. Joseph Fong moved here 1 year ago and said he did his due diligence.
We was like, okay, this is not the flood zone, nowhere near the flood zone, nowhere near the edge of the island.
But on June 20th, when 150 millimeters fell in a matter of hours, water destroyed his basement anyway. At Monday night's Borough Council meeting, the first since the flood, residents gathered inside and outside to express their frustration.
Folks, if you could just let me finish, please.
Jim Bass said while he understands residents are upset, he's limited in what he can say due to a class action lawsuit.
The reality that we face here this evening, not because we don't want to say what we want to say, but because we're limited in our interventions because of a class action suit, unfortunately limits us in what I can tell you.
The applications for the class action lawsuits have not yet been approved. And even if they are, the entire process could take years to resolve. In the meantime, residents now have to decide whether it's worth it to rebuild.
Not until we find out where the water is actually coming from.
I'm taking my time because I want to know, okay, well, what can I do to minimize the damage for the potential next time?
Fearing it's a matter of when, not if. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
A grenade was found today at a campground in Quebec. Members of the Canadian Armed Forces were called in to remove it. Police say the campsite is near Lac Cristal in the Montérégie. Police are asking for help to identify a suspect in an attempted murder. A 49-year-old man was stabbed on Perras Boulevard in Rivière-des-Prairies in May. Police have released images of the person they're looking for. The man is black, between 6'1" and 6'4", with shoulder-length dreadlocks, and a $5,000 reward is being offered for information that leads to his arrest. And police have arrested a woman in connection with several burglaries in Longueuil that targeted seniors. Melanie Tanguay is facing charges for 3 separate incidents. Police believe there might be more victims. They're asking people to come forward if they believe they'd had jewelry stolen by a house cleaner. And the Montreal Police Arson Squad has taken over an investigation into a fire at a mosque in Côte-des-Neiges. A truck parked near the mosque caught fire early Friday morning. It spread to the mosque, caused significant damage. Firefighters have yet to determine the cause of the fire, so the fire was automatically transferred to the arson squad. Police have released their report on this year's construction holiday. They say 18 people died on Quebec's roads. There were 15 fatal collisions. Police say in all of them, either speed and/or distracted or impaired driving was a factor. 6 of the collisions involved a motorcycle. The total number of deaths is down from last year. It's the deadliest construction holiday period last year, when 25 people died. It's yet another promise to do something about crime and clean up Chinatown. The city says this time it's going to be different. The locals and residents and the organizations are viewing the new plans with some caution. Here's Laurence Brisson de Breuil.
A vacant lot, a blank canvas. But to city officials, it's the start of something much bigger. The site at Saint-Laurent and René-Lévesque could one day become a mix of social housing, community and green space, and businesses. For many community advocates, the vision is encouraging. But some, like Mei Chu, say rebuilding trust will take time.
Developing an entire neighborhood that's over 150 years old is a challenge.
A new Chinatown alliance will help shape what comes next, bringing together residents, merchants, and community organizations. City officials say work is already underway.
That piece of land you're sitting on now is already bought. We've done more in the last 10 months that the previous administration had done in 8 years.
The city is also promising immediate change with a daily cleaning and a redesign of both Saint-Laurent and Clark Street. The new alliance holds its first meeting Friday. Community leaders say they want the spirit of the area at the heart of every decision.
Have a concept that can reunite people, that can represent Chinatown on its own.
Preserving that identity through architecture is a priority for the GIA Foundation.
These types of very typical buildings with businesses at the bottom and then like residence or office spaces at the top floors really are ubiquitous in Chinatown.
Others say improving quality of life also means making people feel safer. For years, civil rights group CRAR has been helping residents calling for action on public drug use, vandalism, and other safety issues.
For years, they have not been listened to. They've been forgotten at the expense of their safety and their well-being.
But for Chu, one priority stands above the rest: social housing.
So that, a lot of the vulnerable people, the seniors, the workers of Chinatown who work on minimum wage and who live in Chinatown now can continue to maintain their home in Chinatown.
As the neighborhood gets ready for its annual Chinatown Day celebration Saturday, many say they're ready to embrace change, so long as the neighborhood's history and the people who call it home aren't left behind. Laurence Brisson de Breuil, CTV News.
The former head of the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Montreal will run for the Liberals in the next provincial election. Michel Leblanc's candidacy will be officially announced tomorrow. He'll run in the Montreal riding of Marguerite Bourgeois, that is a Liberal stronghold. The current MNA for Marguerite Bourgeois, Liberal Frédéric Beauchemin, will be running in the riding of Brome-Missisquoi, that's in the Eastern Townships. The Quebec election is on October the 5th. The strike might be over, but many WestJet customers are still wondering about their travel plans. The airline says it's in, quote, recovery mode, and it's not clear when operations will be back to normal. Rahim Ladhani reports.
Camilo and Nim are part of a band and are trying to get to Seoul, South Korea, but WestJet isn't making it easy.
We got rebooked on an Air India flight that's like a 33-hour journey, like 23 hours in the air and then 10 layover. We just went to check in for that flight and we were told that we're not on it.
The airline strike lasted 30 hours, but it continues to have a ripple effect on travelers like Dan, who's stuck in Winnipeg.
Yesterday, Monday, early morning, I got a notice saying, you've been rebooked on Porter Airlines. And I went, okay, that's fine. And then I read that flight's on Friday. Yesterday was 5 days.
The CEO of WestJet says, "We know this disruption has been frustrating for our guests and WestJetters, and we're sorry for that." After 1 day on the picket line, WestJet flight attendants are back on board with a tentative deal. However, for travelers here at Toronto Pearson International Airport, the headache of not knowing how their trip may be impacted is almost as frustrating as if the strike was ongoing.
It's really not a good impression for the customers. You have a lot of plans, hotels, Airbnbs and car rentals booked, and it's a ripple effect on your trip.
According to aviation analytics company Cirium, 925 WestJet flights have been canceled since August 1st. Today, that number is 16. For those who are still waiting to be rebooked, advocates advise to research your rights.
If WestJet is leaving you in a limbo, then you have every right as a passenger to buy yourself a ticket on a different airline on the assumption that WestJet is not fulfilling its obligations, and then bill WestJet for the expense.
And remember this group heading to South Korea? Well, they've been rebooked again on a different airline for tomorrow.
We luckily will make it for our first tour date in Korea thanks to the hard work of WestJet. So we're going on a direct flight now with Air Canada tomorrow.
Rahim Ladani, CTV News, Toronto.
The most recent measles outbreak in Quebec is now classified as officially over. The first cases were reported at the start of the summer. There were 28 cases recorded, and that suggests the spread of the virus was limited. For measles outbreak to be declared over, there must be 32 days since the last infectious case, and the last case of measles in Quebec was on July the 1st. A cheese recall has been issued here in Quebec. It is for white cheddar cheeses made by the dairy company Quaticook. Listeria contamination. The recall covers mild cheddar cheese curds and block cheeses from a lot marked refrigerate after July 24th, 2026 and best before August 8th, 2028. It was an important anniversary today, 325 years ago today, that the governor of New France and the 39 First Nations signed what's known as the Treaty of the Great Peace. It ended nearly 100 years of war, fought mostly over control of the North American fur trade. An original copy of the treaty dating back to 1701 is currently on display at the Pointe-à-Calière Museum.
This one is a genuine original copy of 1701, written probably the same day or a few days after the signature of the treaty. So it's really, we are lucky to have this document and so well conserved.
Electronic music fans will be gathering at Parc Jean Drapeau this weekend for Il Sonic. And anything they want to bring onto the site will have to be in clear plastic bags. This takes Oceaga's transparent bag rule one step further. This weekend, even fanny packs and small handbags will have to be see-through. Organizers say this is a safety measure that will also speed up the security process. And the latest lottery from Lotto Quebec offers an all-expenses-paid trip to Paris to see Celine Dion perform on September 25th. The Diva in Paris lottery tickets will be on sale for the next 6 weeks. There will be 2 grand prizes. They include concert tickets, a 4-night stay in Paris, a set of luggage, and $5,000 in cash. The draw will be held September the 14th. And coming up, there is little enthusiasm for Pierre Poilievre.
Not seen as a prime minister or a close challenger. That's the bad news.
It appears there is no challenger for Prime Minister Mark Carney. And a man stands accused of starting the largest wildfire in Washington state. Donald Trump's latest tariffs are due to come into effect in 2 weeks, and Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc is back in Washington for negotiations. Joy Melbourne has the latest.
Canada's trade team posted this the last time around, proof of their meeting with U.S. Trade Ambassador Jameson Greer. The talks so urgent, so sensitive, the Canadian delegation put out a statement saying they're back in Washington to talk some more.
We're in a hard set of talks right now. I certainly understand why Minister LeBlanc and Chief Negotiator Charette and Ambassador Wiseman are being very, very discreet and very cautious about what they say and do publicly. This administration has been mercurial. It is unpredictable at the best of times.
These talks unfolding against President Donald Trump's latest pressure tactic.
Mexico and Canada need us. We don't need them. The deal is important for them. It's not important for us.
As the clock ticks down to yet another Trump tariff, a threatened 50% aimed at Canadian goods, $20 billion in exports at risk starting August 19th. Retaliation, Washington says, for what it calls discriminatory Canadian treatment of U.S. goods. But having seen his fair share of hardball trade negotiations, former Finance Minister Ralph Goodale remains optimistic.
We're in the top 3 markets in the world for 47 of the American states. So obviously, despite the bluster, despite the arguments to the contrary on the American side, Canada is very critically important to the Americans.
Neither side, it seems, wants to blink first, and with little evidence of a breakthrough, at least the two sides are still talking. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
It seems there is no obvious Conservative challenger to Prime Minister Mark Carney. A new poll finds that the strongest contender to beat Carney would be former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. So where does that leave the current leader, Pierre Poilievre? Here's Rachel Aiello.
No prominent Canadian Conservative could defeat Prime Minister Mark Carney. That's the big takeaway from a new poll commissioned by CTV News. It asked Canadians which high-profile Tory would have the best chance if they were leading the Conservative Party. And Nanos research found that the top choice was none of them, at 33%. 16% said former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Just 15% said current Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, while 11% said Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Nick Nano said these findings contain both good and bad news for Poilievre's continued leadership.
He's not seen as a prime minister or a close challenger. That's the bad news. The good news is that it doesn't seem to be anyone in the bushes, the shadows, in the wings that people identify as a real alternative to Pierre Poilievre.
In the absence of a clear challenger, insiders say, despite some infighting, no one is organizing to try and oust him.
I think what you're seeing with the Conservative side of the equation right now is the team rebuilding itself, which is why I think you're seeing Pierre have the space and the numbers to kind of have this operating room to figure out what's next.
Carney's continued popularity could also bode well for the trio of upcoming by-elections, said this former candidate.
I do think that the Liberals have a very strong chance of securing a win in almost all, if not all, of those by-elections. I think that at this point, it doesn't look like Canadians are looking for an alternative.
Adding to this, Nanos' latest ballot tracking shows the Liberals widening the gap, with 47% support over the Conservatives' 27%. The NDP, meanwhile, are sitting at 12.7%.
I think for a lot of middle-of-the-road voters and perhaps Conservatives that are a little progressive, Mark Carney actually has a lot of appeal.
Those I spoke to today said while these numbers set the Liberals up for a smooth fall, any misstep could bring the Prime Minister's prolonged honeymoon period to an abrupt end. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
There are reports that the U.S. State Department will be closing 5 consulates, including the one in Winnipeg. The report from Reuters also says the U.S. will close missions in Winnipeg, Grenada, Japan, Indonesia, and Cameroon. The State Department underwent a bureaucratic overhaul last year, cutting dozens of bureaus and hundreds of staff. There are 120 wildfires burning across British Columbia, and they are spreading. This afternoon, officials provided an update on the situation.
As of 9 a.m. this morning, there are 37 evacuation orders impacting approximately 8,000 people and 7,300 properties, and 37 evacuation alerts impacting approximately 7,100 people and 3,800 properties. The orders and alerts over the past few days have been changing hourly.
And in one BC community, 230 homes have been destroyed by fire burning near Vernon. The chief of the Okanagan Indian Band toured the area by helicopter. He says the community looked like a war zone. And a man has been arrested and accused of starting one of the wildfires in Washington state. The fire has burned through more than 4,000 hectares and destroyed at least 700 structures. Rena Roy reports.
As wildfires rage in Washington, police arresting a 37-year-old man who they say is responsible for starting the Old Trails fire, the most destructive of the 3 fires tearing through Spokane.
The witness, a citizen, very good citizen, noticed a male standing on the side of the road looking into the trees as he was going to pick somebody up. About 10 minutes later, as he was coming back through the area, he noticed the male was bending down near some grass.
The suspect, identified as Aaron Farinacci, a convicted felon who's now facing a charge of arson in the 1st degree. In the Spokane area, more than 10,000 acres have burned so far, and dry, breezy conditions today could help fuel the flames. Crews racing to contain the fires. Nearly 70,000 people evacuated. The sheriff says 14 people are unaccounted for. Firefighters say at least 700 structures have been destroyed, and that number could go up.
I've been to a lot of places around the world, and I can tell you today that that's a war zone.
It's like bombs went off because the houses are just in ashes. I mean, there's fireplaces standing and cars burned.
Kathy Sherrick's home now gone.
I feel lost. Every memory of my children are down there. Every memory of my grandchildren are down there. I just feel empty. I can't even say I feel hurt.
These fires are also creating unhealthy air conditions for much of the Pacific Northwest. Air quality alerts are in effect for most of the region, including nearly all of Washington and Oregon. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
In Greece, the fires have burned through mountain communities and coastal areas outside Athens. Greece is one of several European countries being ravaged by wildfires this summer. The other countries, France, Spain, and the Netherlands. And the UK has recorded its driest July in nearly 200 years. Coming up, all eyes are on the moon.
Actually, a mixture of solar activity and gravity forces have put it on a path towards the moon.
It is on a collision course with a huge piece of space junk. And what do you do if you notice a strange smell coming from your car's air conditioner? Recently, something happened with an AI system that many had long feared, and they'd warn us about. OpenAI said that one of its most powerful systems had gone rogue. The model broke out of what was supposed to be a secure environment, and it launched a massive cyber attack on another company. The model had not been told to do this. It did it on its own. Carmi Levy is our tech analyst. Hi, Carmi. So, Carmi, first, what exactly happened?
Mitsumi.
So what exactly happened, Carmi?
And they were using.
Okay, it looks like we're having some very serious problems.
ChatGPT. We will use it's a chatbot.
Okay, you know what?
We will simply ask it to them for us. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Carmi, I don't know. Yeah, we're having some serious technical problems. I'm not quite sure what the control room would like me to do with this. Okay, so you know what? We're going to unhook and try to get back to you. Okay, Carmi?
Okay, sounds good.
A huge piece of unmanned SpaceX rocket booster is on a collision course with the moon, and when it hits tomorrow morning, it's expected to create a massive dust cloud, and astronomers will be watching. Tom Costello.
It's magnificent. I got a picture of it with the wide lens.
4 months after the world watched the Artemis II crew's spectacular lunar flyby, a piece of space junk is about to slam into the lunar surface at 5,400 miles per hour.
Ignition and liftoff.
It was January 2025 that a SpaceX rocket sent 2 robotic landers to the moon. Now, as an accidental bonus, the massive rocket booster is getting pulled closer and closer to the moon.
What has happened is essentially a mixture of solar activity and gravity forces have put it on a path towards the moon.
At 2:34 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, that booster will crash into the moon, digging a massive new crater. The expected explosion will send a plume of lunar dirt and dust as high as 60 miles above the lunar surface, which astronomers around the world are eager to examine.
It's a real scientific way of learning more about what the moon's made up of.
Orbiting probes will document the impact, with NASA hoping to learn more about what's under the lunar surface. Artemis 4 astronauts are expected to land on the moon within 2 years. Ultimately, NASA wants to create an Artemis base camp on the moon and use that to go to Mars.
We're learning and building up to doing something extremely hard, being able to operate astronaut crews on a near continuous basis on the lunar surface.
Meanwhile, this upcoming space junk crash underscores a big concern for NASA. There are now more than 130 million pieces of space junk orbiting the Earth. From pieces of rockets and dead satellites to straps and covers, hardware, bolts, and nuts. Last year, a Chinese spaceship with astronauts on board was hit by debris, and all of it poses potential lethal risks to astronauts, other satellites, and humans on Earth as it all re-enters Earth's atmosphere.
Another Canadian is preparing to go into space. Joshua Kutrick of Alberta will be one of 4 astronauts who will go to the International Space Station.
For me, I would just spend a few minutes here to talk about the enormous sense of gratitude that the 4 of us feel for everyone who has gone into making this mission possible. You know, personally, myself, I grew up on a cattle farm in Canada. It's a long way from being here with this mission in front of us. But the one thing that has resonated at every twist and turn in that journey has been the complexity of these missions, and because of that, the enormity of the teams that go into pulling missions like this off. So we need to say thank you to everyone.
Kutrick and his crewmates will be there for 6 months. They'll be conducting experiments and doing maintenance work. Liftoff from Florida is scheduled for September the 12th.
Weather brought to you by Gratianscaf's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Well, earlier in the show, we told you about how much of the province was affected by the active weather and wet weather we've been seeing in recent days. In L'Ascension, they had some major damage. Now, here in Montreal, the area of Pointe-aux-Trembles was impacted, and this is an incredible video shared from one of our viewers. And take a look at that tree. It is massive. It fell on top of a truck, and this is a reminder that when Environment and Climate Change Canada issues these watches and warnings, often they warn that there's a potential of trees or branches falling down, so it is to be taken seriously. So please do take that into consideration. And now we also have something a little bit more lighthearted to share with you. This was taken in Tadoussac. It is an incredible video of a massive whale putting on a show, breaching out of the water for whale watchers. You never know if you're going to get to capture it, and these people were lucky. It was incredible footage. Just had to share that with you all tonight. Now, that looked like it was a whale of a good time, and if you happen to be on vacation right now, well, you probably enjoyed the beautiful weather that we saw today, and we have more in store for tomorrow. In terms of our temperatures, we were slightly above seasonal at 28 degrees. Typically, we'd be at 26, but the humidity made 28 feel like 33, and it's going to get even hotter tomorrow. Putting our futurecast into motion now, clear skies at this time, and we're holding on to that overnight into the early morning hours. We do start Wednesday off with lots of sunshine. It's very straightforward, dealing with sunny skies throughout the day. We could see a few clouds in the evening, but expecting to see some clearing into Thursday. We are calling for a mix of sun and clouds there. However, there is a potential of a thunderstorm later in the day that we are keeping our eye on. So here's what you need to know about the next 24 hours. Clear skies overnight, a low of 17. Sunny start tomorrow, wake-up temperature of 19. It will be 30 degrees tomorrow with lots of sunshine, feeling like 35 thanks to the Humidex. Our longer range forecast shows the humidity is a theme here. Looks like Thursday will be 29, feeling like 39. We're calling for 29 as well on Friday.
Friday, feeling like 38. There is a risk of showers there as well. We can see over the weekend a risk of thunderstorms, humidity holding on. And this time next week, we're calling for a high of 26, feeling like 32 with 4 millimeters of rain.
We're going to go back now to Carmi Levy. We were talking about how an OpenAI system went rogue, launched a cyber attack without permission to do this. And far be it from me, Carmi, to get a little paranoid that as we were going to denounce this, everything just sort of froze on us. But anyways, okay, so first, tell us exactly what happened.
So OpenAI was conducting a test on some AI agents. They're powered by their newest, most powerful models. And basically there was a security test. It was supposed to have taken place within what they like to call containment or a digital sandbox. It's kind of like a virtual space that is separate from the internet so that, you know, if something does happen, it doesn't damage anything in the process. Unfortunately, during the tests, and we're still trying to understand why, that agent, and agents, they do autonomous work on their own. They can complete complex tasks without any human interaction. It escapes and it made it out onto the open internet. And after it was out on the open internet, it then succeeded in breaking into the systems of a company called Hugging Face, ironically another AI company, which Hugging Face subsequently fought off. It was also able to break into, we found out later, a number of other systems. And in doing so, it became the first recorded instance in human history of AI successfully breaking into a system, a defended online system, on its own without any human involvement, which, as you can imagine, is a milestone that we kind of expected we would reach one day, but we're kind of hoping that we wouldn't anytime soon.
But you know, Carmi, what intrigues me is the vocabulary. You talk about agents escaping, going rogue, looking for answers on its own. We talk about this thing as though it is some kind of a sentient entity. It sounds like science fiction. Is this what's happening?
It sure does. It feels like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator or 2001: A Space Odyssey come to life. And it's easy to see why, right? Because here the machines literally doing what they're not supposed to be doing outside of human control. So it is an inflection point. It is a moment in AI history that I think we should take note of. But the good news is the sky isn't falling. The machines aren't about to take over from us, and we're not about to lose complete control. But we still have to pay attention to the fact that perhaps they're better at breaking into weakened systems, identifying vulnerabilities than we thought they were before. They've reached a point in their development that we better figure out this cybersecurity thing and build better protections before something truly bad does happen. This happened in a test environment. We're learning some really important lessons. Next time we may not be so lucky. It might be not a rogue test gone wrong. It might be someone with actual malevolent intent. We're going to have to be ready for that moment.
And also, there are a lot of problems here, right? I mean, OpenAI system went rogue. The company didn't notice it right away. It got out of a containment that was supposed to be escape-proof. You know, OpenAI is a company, Carmi, that employs some of the sharpest software minds in the world, and they couldn't control it. So what have we done, really?
We've allowed companies like OpenAI and Google and Anthropic and Microsoft and others to essentially make up the rules as they go along. Remember, we live in a country that does not have an AI law. We tried a number of times, but every time we never quite get it over the line. And so that leaves, that gap allows companies like OpenAI to make up the rules. It allows them to decide, well, we're going to prioritize going to market, bringing faster models to market. We're not going to prioritize safety because, well, we're not going to get punished anyway if something happens. And these are the same companies that, for example, have put kids' mental health at risk. We have evidence of AI chatbots suggesting methods of suicide to vulnerable kids and offering to write suicide letters for them, for their friends and family. And they're being sued for that right now. But there are no legal consequences for any of this behavior because they're in an AI arms race. The market is pivoting toward artificial intelligence. Everyone's competing, trying to be the biggest, the best, the fastest. And unfortunately, safety is not at the top of their priority list. And we need to change that with better laws. We need to change that with new priorities so that these companies are forced to at least behave to a minimum standard.
So given all this, and in the meantime, Carmi, what should we personally learn from this?
I mean, we need to recognize that you and I as individuals aren't going to change OpenAI or Anthropic or any other company at this point in time. We can't control that, but we can control our individual behaviors. And so we can think, well, should I be sharing that with AI? Should I be uploading that photo to make myself look older? Or should I keep that photo to myself so that AI doesn't have access to it? I would reduce the data footprint. Don't turn off things like history and memory. Go into your settings and reduce the amount that you share with that platform. And if you're not using AI apps and services on your devices, go into the settings, remove your account, get rid of the apps to remove the amount of data that is leaking from our devices, contributing to this training process, exposing us more than we probably want to be.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Carmi.
Thanks, Mitsumi.
The air conditioner in our vehicles get a workout in the summer, and if the air conditioner lets off a stale or musty smell when it's turned on, there could be a problem in the dashboard. Here's Pat Foran.
Have you noticed an unpleasant smell coming from your car's air vents? Before you start searching under the seats for gym clothes or spilled food, the source may be something much more common.
What you're probably smelling is condensation from the evaporator inside your heating and cooling system. Basically, water collects in that area, and if it sits for long enough, it creates that musty smell.
Your vehicle's air conditioning system creates condensation. Most of that water drains underneath the car, which is why you may occasionally notice a small puddle beneath it. But if moisture lingers inside the evaporator housing, it can create the perfect environment for mold and bacteria to grow, causing odors every time you turn on the fan. Fortunately, fixing the problem doesn't require a trip to the repair shop. Start by opening the windows and setting the interior fan to a low speed. Then use a disinfectant spray such as Lysol or a cleaner specifically designed for automotive air conditioning systems. Spray it into the vehicle's fresh air intake, also known as the plenum.
The plenum can be found at the base of your windshield where the wipers are located. This is where the air comes from that goes into your heating and cooling system.
With the engine running and the fan turned on, spray the cleaner into both sides of the plenum intake. The ventilation system will pull the disinfectant through the ductwork, helping kill odor-causing bacteria and freshen the air inside the vehicle. Keep the windows open during the process to help air out the car. And if your vehicle has a cabin air filter, it's recommended to remove it before spraying the cleaner so the disinfectant can circulate more effectively through the system. Also consider replacing the filter altogether. A dirty cabin filter can restrict airflow, affect system performance, and contribute to unpleasant odors. And replacing it yourself can save you both time and money. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Ariana Grande is planning to take a break after her current tour, which wraps up September 1st. Grande was at the Bell Center last week.
Trying to feel something real to cry again. They say that odors need to.
Grande has also pulled out of a musical production in London that she was set to star in next year. Her representative says she wants to take a break from the, quote, endless ongoing public scrutiny.
Your Health, brought to you by Gratianscap's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
A baby in Ontario has a rare genetic disorder that's affecting every aspect of her development. Her parents are now trying to raise millions of dollars to develop a gene therapy. Hannah Schmidt reports.
Shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Yeah.
Riley Dowling has a smile that instantly captures your attention. It's hard to imagine the fight she's been through to keep it.
The night before we were going to get discharged again, she coded in the middle of the night. We were both luckily there in the room with her, but it was like, it is impossible to describe how that feels as a parent.
Riley stopped breathing 4 times in her first weeks of life. After 6 weeks in hospital and months of testing, doctors discovered she has FBXO11, an ultra-rare genetic disorder. Riley's mother, Chris Dowling, says when her daughter was diagnosed, fewer than 100 cases had been documented worldwide.
We're working on rolling still and trying to sit up independently. Like rolling is a 2 to 3 month skill, and she'll be a year soon, and it's like we don't know where, when, and if she'll reach certain things.
The disorder affects nearly every part of Riley's development, including movement, communication, and ability to perform everyday tasks. The 11-month-old relies on a feeding tube for nutrition and oxygen while she sleeps, but her parents refused to believe there was nothing that could be done. After connecting with specialists in Canada and the U.S., the family is now working toward developing a personalized gene therapy.
Now we have teams invested in her gene. There's hope. The sooner the better, of course. The first 5 years developmentally are the most important, so the sooner we can get her treatment created, tested, approved, manufactured, the more it will affect her.
The Dowlings have launched a GoFundMe and are sharing Riley's journey through social media, hoping every donation brings them one step closer to the treatment they believe could change her future.
You are going to change the world, Riley.
Hannah Schmidt, CTV News, Cambridge.
The first deaths are being reported from the parasitic infection cyclosporiasis. 2 people in Michigan have died. Officials say both patients had underlying health conditions and that most people do recover from the illness. There have been outbreaks reported in 45 American states, and it's being linked in part to lettuce from Mexico. Marineland has begun moving out of its second group of whales. 7 whales were shipped out yesterday. They're headed for SeaWorld in San Antonio. 6 belugas were relocated to the U.S. last month. Marineland closed in September of 2024.
Business News, brought to you by Au Vieux de Loup. Generous and delicious plates all the time.
Canada's trade surplus was bigger in June. It hit $3.9 billion. Morella Fernandez has more.
It was the 4th straight month that Canada reported a trade surplus. Statistics Canada says total exports hit $77.5 billion in June, with a 16.5% jump in minerals and metals exports. Strength was in gold. But the country exported 10% less energy. Canada imported 59% more computers and computer parts used in data centers. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 71.09 U.S. West Texas Intermediate down over $4 to 75.77 U.S. a barrel. Western Canadian Select is up to 66.38. And the TSX shot up 575 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
The opening weekend of the National Bank Open was plagued with rain delays. Laval's Alexis Galarneau had his first-round match postponed from Sunday to Monday. Then he had to endure 3 more rain delays. The match took 5.5 hours to complete, and he lost 6-4, 6-4. It did clear up, though, in time for Montrealer Gabriel Diallo. He won his match against France's Kyrian Jacquet. It was Diallo's first win at his home tournament. He will be back in action tonight on center court in the second round.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV.
An Ottawa man is preparing to run 320 kilometers in an ultra marathon, and he's hoping to shed some light on mental health at the same time. Camille Wilson has the story.
Rudy Asir is gearing up for the biggest run of his life.
All day, all night. You keep going, no stopping until you finish this thing.
Physically preparing for a 200-mile ultramarathon and raising awareness for those suffering with mental health.
As difficult as life may be, one step at a time, things can get better. And the biggest thing is you're not alone. All the way through the Rockies.
Starting August 10th, Asir will have 5 days to complete the 100-hour race across Alberta, something the endurance athlete has been training for.
I've done a couple 100-mile ultramarathons in the past, and I just love pushing my body to seeing what it's capable of doing.
This test is also a personal one for Asir, running the race to honor his sister, Martha.
Unfortunately, mental illness got the better of her. She suffered from bipolar disease and really had a struggle and a hard time trying to get access to resources and things.
Running the 200 miles, this is something that
even me thinking about gives me chest pain.
Dr. Quadro Karamanting, ICU physician at the Ottawa Hospital, says the mental health crisis is something he deals with on a regular basis in the intensive care unit.
The amount of people that are coming in with self-harm, that commit suicide, and in some ways it feels like these issues are getting worse, especially for our youth.
As an advocate for mental health, it's a test Asir is determined to finish and inspire others.
Ultimately, the message is super clear that you're not alone, and if you need help, please reach out. I really hope that this sheds a light on it, that, hey, this is wild and crazy, and maybe I could do something interesting like this.
Camille Wilson, CTV News.
And Lauren, it's going to be a nice night.
Definitely a nice night for anybody who's preparing for a marathon or for a good cause just like that. So we do have some rain on the way in the next couple of days. I would suggest making the most of it today and tomorrow. This is what we're expecting over the next 24 hours. Clear skies with no rain overnight, a low of 17. We start the day off with sunshine. Our wake-up temperature being 19 degrees. We'll see the mercury climb up to 30. Feeling like 35, and the theme here is sunshine. Now, if we move forward to our Thursday, right now we're calling for a mix of sun and clouds. However, it does look like we have a chance of some showers later in the day, 2 millimeters, and the risk of a thunderstorm. I'm keeping my eye on that for anybody that has plans that evening. Also looking at a chance of some thunderstorms on Friday, and we already know that it looks like the weekend is going to be another active one weather-wise. So, like I said, enjoy the next 24 hours.
And that's it for us. Have a good evening. Stay well. Good night.